Happy Tuesday, everyone. So today we're going to talk some more about fractions, okay? And we're going to talk about fractions with denominators of 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. But first I want to talk a little bit about where a denominator in a fraction even comes from. So we remember from yesterday that our denominator is that bottom number. In a fraction. Okay? So, how do we get the denominator? So, let's use the fraction 1/2. Okay? So, we get this denominator by looking at the parts that our shape is divided into. So, for example, if I had a circle and it was split down the middle, we would have two parts, right? 1, 2. So that is where our denominator would come from. It's that two parts, okay? So this fraction 1/2, this is what it would look like. And oftentimes, you will see it colored in, one side of it colored in. So 1/2 of it is shaded, and 1/2 of it is left unshaded. Okay? So I'm going to give you just a minute. You might want to pause this and copy this part down. Okay? And so let's also make a note that the denominator comes from the parts that the shape is divided into. Okay? So get that copied down. You might want to pause this again. So now let's look at, we've already done the fraction 1/2. Okay? So let's look at a fraction with a denominator of 3. So let's use the example 2/3. Okay? So this, if we were drawing it, would look like this. I'm going to use a rectangle this time. Okay? And then we would need to split this into 3 equal pieces. I'm not using a ruler, so I'm going to do my best to make each section equal. Okay, so about here and about here. Again, they're not exactly equal. If I were using a ruler, they would be more precise. Okay? So again, I have 3 sections, 1, 2, 3, of this whole piece, this whole rectangle. So that's where this denominator of 3 comes from. Now, if I wanted to shade in 2/3 of this rectangle, that just means I would color in 2 parts. So I would shade 1 and 2. Okay? So this one you could have 2/3 shaded, but you could also say that 1/3 is left unshaded. Okay? So take a minute and get that copied down. Alright? Now, let's look at a fraction with a denominator of 4. So let's use the example 3/4. Okay, so once again, this 4 comes from the parts that our shape is divided into. I'm going to use a square this time. Okay? So again, I'm going to do my very best to make these equal, but I am not using a ruler. So you could divide your square just like this, right? You could also see a square divided like this diagonally. right? But in each shape, in each square, I still have 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So if I was going to shade 3/4 of these, I would color in 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. Or I could color in 1, 2, 3. And either one of these would be 3/4 because it is divided into 4 sections. If you didn't want to use a square, you could also use a circle. Okay? And it would still be 3 sections colored in. Your circle could also be divided diagonally. Again, this is not very even. Normally, you would try to make these as even as you could. But again, it would be 1, 2, 3. Okay? Take a minute and get that copied down, please. Alright, so now let's look at a fraction with a denominator of 6. So let's use the fraction 2/6. For this fraction, I'm going to go back and I'm going to use a circle. So remember, I need to have 6 parts. So that's 2, right? And then going to draw diagonally. So let me make sure I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I do have 6 parts. So now if I wanted to shade this, I would color in 2 sections because that is our numerator. So I would color in 1, 2. You could also use a rectangle. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yep, I have 6 parts. This is my whole rectangle. It is divided into 6 parts. If I wanted to color 2 of them, 2, I would have shaded 2/6. Or you could say there are 1, 2, 3, 4/6 unshaded that are not colored. Right? So now let's look at a fraction with a denominator of 8. And let's use 5/8. Okay, let's use 5/8. So if I wanted to draw this shape, I could use a rectangle. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I drew my line a little bit long, so pretend that's not there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections of my whole entire rectangle because I have an 8 on the bottom denominator of our fraction. Now I have 5 on the top, which means just like all the others, I want to shade that many parts. So I would color in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You could also use a circle. Ooh, that was not a very good circle. So I have 2, 4, but remember I need 8 sections. So I'm going to have to go diagonally both ways. Now let's make sure I have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So just like with a rectangle, I would want to color in 5 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? So take a minute, make sure you have these examples copied down. Like pause this video to get all these. examples written and copied the shapes, copied down. So remember, the denominator in a fraction comes from the parts that the shape is divided into. Okay? So if you were given, for instance, if you were just given this shape, this rectangle, and you were asked to write a fraction, you could know your denominator because you could count the parts, 1, 2, 3, and then for the shaded, 1, 2. All right? So this is very important. The denominator comes from the parts that the shape is divided into. All right? And then for your assignment today, you are going to have some fraction practice on your Google Classroom, okay? And as an example, one of the slides you are going to see is going to have some dice on the side, and then you are going to be asked to just create a fraction and try to draw a picture. So when you write fractions, the smaller number goes on the top, and your large number, or your larger number, goes on the bottom. Okay? So let's pretend I put the number 4 on top, and I put the number 6 on the bottom. I would want to, on your slides, you are going to match that, and then in your notebook, you're going to try and draw this picture. So you would want to draw a shape, and I'm going to use a circle. Okay, so my circle has 6 parts, and I know that because of my denominator, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to need to color in 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. On your second slide of your math practice for today, you're just trying to match pictures to the fractions and the words. So if, for example, they gave you this picture, they would want you to tell us what this fraction was. So you would pull the matching number over, so you'd 1/2, and then you would also match the words, so 1/2. All right? And then the last slide on your work, for that one, it's going to give you 4 fractions, and we just want you to practice drawing them in your notebook, okay? So if it gave you the fraction 3/4, we want you to practice drawing them and coloring them. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. 1, 2, 3. All right, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, and I will see you all tomorrow.